Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I'm from the internet, and today we are going to talk about what it looks like to work through an entire year of a pandemic. Now, it is coming up on exactly 1 year since then President Donald Trump said into a microphone, yeah, there's only like 8 cases of this China virus stuff floating around, but we're going to be fine. Since then, I've eaten 1,700 consecutive meals sitting around a coffee table in my living room. So I think perhaps we might have predicted poorly on that one. But since that day, the American working class has been working overtime, both at home and away at stores, trying to keep the economy and the business of the country flowing. So, now that we have a year's worth of data and reports and stories to look at, I thought we would go back, sneak a peek, so that we can judge exactly where everybody is, how workers are doing, how the middle class is doing, and of course, how the wealthy are faring their way through this horrible pandemic that must be cramping their lifestyles something fierce. So, here we go. Workers look to their bosses for mental health support. Many aren't getting it. Like many others working from home during this deadly crisis, Erin has days when she feels overwhelmed trying to meet the needs of her job and her family, frustrated by relentless competing demands that drain her physically and emotionally. Quote, "The saddest thing for me is that it has chipped away at my joy in motherhood. I find myself raising my voice more than I ever thought I would." Erin is hardly the only one trying to keep it together and failing sometimes, a societal problem grown large enough in the age of COVID-19 to crack the old unspoken agreement between many employers and their workers to keep personal issues away from their job. Homebound workers and those out serving the public have struggled to keep their equilibrium during a traumatic year of mass disease and death. Long work hours, tiring video conference calls, and tense mask wars have added to the stress. Now, before we go too much further into this, I think it's worth pointing out that every single last person who has been required to work during this pandemic, regardless of what their occupation is, they have been dealing with a lot of shit. The usual day-to-day stress that comes with living in hyper-capitalized America is more than enough to send a lot of people over the edge on a good day. The fact that half the country has been locked in their home for the last year has only made matters worse. Their mental health is a growing issue for employers who have not historically been of much help. Now, with more people heading back to their workplaces, companies need to make profound changes in how they approach employees' psychological and emotional well-being, advocates say. Their mental health is a growing issue for employers who have not historically been of much help. Now, with more people heading back to their workplaces, companies need to make profound changes in how they approach employees' psychological and emotional well-being. Of course, the concern here is that the overwhelming majority of companies in the United States of America don't even offer decent medical care and zero dental care. To expect them to go from zero to actually giving a shit as it relates to psychological health is going to be a very heavy and hard uphill push with a large-ass boulder in front of you. Even before COVID isolation, workers harbored concerns that if they used company mental health benefits, it might hurt their careers, according to a 2019 study commissioned by online care provider Ginger. More than 80% said they faced barriers to getting behavioral health care. The pandemic year's wide-ranging stresses have heightened the need. The CDC said last summer that 40% of survey respondents reported anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and increased use of alcohol and other substances, sharply higher than the year earlier level. Again, being a member of the working class and existing within the hyper-capitalized economic and social system that is the United States of America comes with its own unique set of challenges, such as no matter how hard you work, you can't ever get out of the hole. And if I run any faster on this treadmill, I'm going to fall flat on my face. These were common attitudes and issues before the pandemic started. We're now a year into this, and the landscape, especially as it relates to individual mental health access, has not greatly improved. Some organizations are doing the same old garbage and tuning out their employees' emotional needs. Employers may expect workers on the job at home to put in even more hours because they don't have to commute, or pressure them to be constantly online. And working from home under duress has made a mockery of work-life balance, which was already maddeningly elusive. Emily Barnes, who lives in North San Diego County and was laid off in the fall from an educational nonprofit, said she's seen a shortage of understanding from managers. Friends and family who are parents are not given the flexibility to work around their family's needs. She said, not allowed to have excuses even with a baby in their lap. Yes, this is another joyous side effect of working from home during the pandemic. It's almost as if family time and families themselves now cease to exist, as people are forced to sit around on a computer 12 hours a day, responding to an incessant amount of emails and an incessant amount of video conference call requests from people who need to make themselves feel important by sending out emails and video conference requests. Why? Because employers want you to know that your time is their time. And now that you get to work from home, well, even more of your time should be their time, because surely you're slacking off while you're not under the deep penetrating gaze of an angry overseer. Although Zoom labor has torn away the myth that children cease to exist when parents are at work, what you find is that a lot of women are working deep into the night and setting alarms for 4 and 5 a.m. It's hard to get to business when they're faced with urgent family needs. You can't get your footing when you're constantly interrupted. Men may commonly be less inclined to articulate how the pandemic is making them feel, but aren't immune to the strain. Neither are leaders of companies trying to keep their businesses afloat in a troubled economy. And the overwhelming majority of employers cannot be bothered to give two shits about your mental well-being. Sure, there's a lot of great commercials that play thanking frontline workers and, hey, telling you how important it is to get therapy. And, you should have somebody to talk to. But having the greatest healthcare in the world, comparative to having access to the greatest healthcare in the world, regardless of whether it be physical, mental, or emotional, is kind of pointless when you're at home with a computer in your lap 12 hours a day, grinding away so somebody else can profit. Hey, speaking of profits, you want to know how much profit everybody else made while the working class was sitting at home? Well, I'm going to show you. Food retailers see eye-popping profits during pandemic, but frontline workers get crumbs. The report revealed inequalities between retail workers' pay and companies' profits during the pandemic. Profits earned at top retailers were described as eye-popping, even as most quickly ended so-called hero pay that was offered at the beginning of the pandemic in the form of bonuses or temporary bumps in pay for workers. Yeah, by the way, that was called a bribe. Yeah, everybody wanted to stay at home when the pandemic first started because, it was a fucking pandemic. And then, after about a month, when people got desperate, the big box stores started rolling out commercials on the TV saying how much we should appreciate frontline workers and advertising that they were going to give some of them raises of $1 or even $2 an hour for hazard pay. Some facts from the report. Kroger saw its net earnings for the first 2 quarters jump to more than $2.031 billion, compared to $1.069 billion in the same period in 2019. Walmart's profit was $15.6 billion for the first 3 quarters, compared to $10.7 billion for the same period last year, a 45% increase. Amazon, which owns Whole Foods, saw a $17.4 billion profit for the first 3 quarters, up $6 billion from the same period last year. That amounted to a 53% increase. And Costco's profit was $2.2 billion for the first 2 quarters of 2020, which was an increase of $244 million from 2019, or just 11%. Amazon and Walmart could have quadrupled the hazard pay they gave their frontline workers and still earned more profit than in the previous year. Don't worry, they didn't actually do it. Now, would you like to see how well some of these other retailers treated their employees during the pandemic? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Target gave frontline workers $500. I mean, sure, you went to work every day, bought the corona back into your house, and literally killed your own grandparents, but $500, that can buy a lot of whatever that food product is that they sell at Target that's mass produced in a freezer section that isn't actually fucking food. Meanwhile, Walmart is going to pay $388 million in special cash bonuses to frontline workers. It sounds like a big number, huh? Quote, as we come to a close on this historic year, I'm filled with gratitude for how our associates have led through one of the most trying periods for our company and country. Walmart U.S. President and CEO John Furner said in a statement, our associates have stepped up to serve our customers, communities, and each other when it was truly needed most, and we're pleased to recognize their efforts with a quarterly bonus for strong store performance and a fourth quarter special cash bonus. So there you go. Walmart and Target, two of the biggest box retailers in the United States of America, announcing more than $500 million in bonuses. It sounds like a really big number, right? The kind of number that you would put in, a press release or a trade magazine such as Supermarket News. $500 million. I mean, Walmart itself just said they're going to pay $388 million in bonuses on the $15.6 billion in profits they earned. Also, fun fact, the word profit means all of the additional money your labor earned somebody else while you were working harder for the same amount of money. Now, right about now, you might be asking yourself, James, why are you discussing this? We already know retail workers are getting fucked. Well, I thought it was worth mentioning because Credit Suisse announced that they're dispersing $20,000 bonuses to their analyst associates and vice presidents that could hit accounts as soon as Q2 of this year, and that they will also be increasing salaries for those in global capital markets and an advisory group at director level and below. Now, if you're a poor working class person, this means nothing to you because it's not like you're ever going to have to invest money. But your boss's 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 boss, and then all the shareholders who hang out with those C-level executives, well, they've raked in trillions of dollars in subsidies, PPP loans they no longer have to pay back, and a shit ton of profit from being the only places that were allowed to stay open. And now all those C-level executives and all of those shareholders literally have trillions of dollars, and they desperately need more bankers to work more overtime to get all that money socked away into investments and offshore so they don't have to pay taxes on it. But hey, hopefully all of you minimum wage retail workers out there and fast food workers, well, y'all got a $250 bonus and maybe even a $100 cash card to, buy more groceries at the store you work at to give them more profits, as a way of them saying thank you for sacrificing members of your family to the great golden bowl god so that the line will continue to go up. At some point, very soon, all of us as a nation are going to have a very long, detailed conversation about a need for expanding and reintroducing the concept of organized labor and labor unions. It's time to start organizing, people. If you organize, instead of asking for better, you can demand better. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.